Hey yogis, Kit Kat here. Welcome to today's tutorial. We are going to be working into the hips and we're going to work our way up into frog pose, possibly my least favorite yoga shape if the truth be told. And today, if you watched my coffee with Kit Kat on my Insta stories, Perfectly Imperfect Yogis, you would have seen that I've made a commitment to doing frog pose for at least 3 minutes every day in or after my practice. And we're going to see how that actually impacts my flexibility within my hips or that hip rotation, and we'll see where we go after those 7 days. So an interesting experiment. So let's get started with today's practice. We're going to come to Sukhasana, easy seated pose. So whichever leg is comfortable for you, and we're just going to take a few moments here just to connect in with the breath. So this sequence can be used in 2 different ways. If you've already warmed up and you've done some sun salutations and you're feeling a little bit more juicy, like I am today, I'm going to hold each of these shapes for roughly about 10 breaths. So it's probably around a minute or so. If you would like to use this from more of a yin perspective, so a little bit more a lower, slower, grounded connection, you're going to stay for between 3 and 5 minutes in each shape. So you can feel free to note the sequence or press pause in between each of the shapes. And this tutorial will probably take you around 35 to 40 minutes to get through if you use it as a yin practice. So yogi's choice, up to you. If you're joining me here today on the mat, we're going to do 10 breaths in each shape. So our first shape here today is Sukhasana. Sit back into the hips, into those sit bones, and feel a grounded connection to the earth. A little length through the back body, drawing the crown of the head up towards the sky, maybe a slight tuck of the chin in towards the chest, just resting the hands on the knees. And a few deep inhale, exhale breaths here. So notice where the breath is going in these first few breaths. Is it going just into the chest here? Because we seem to always imagine our breath going to our chest. If it is, see if you can have that sensation of the breath filling the back body as well. So it's more like a balloon. So with that inhale, you're creating that roundedness and that expansion through the body. And as you exhale, that beautiful word surrender. See if you can surrender into the shape. I'm going to take another 2 breaths here. Inhale for expansion and exhale. Beautiful long surrender there. One more breath. And exhale. So our next shape is half shoelace. So what I'd like you to do is extend your left foot out to the front and take your right foot over the top of the left. So you can send this guy out to the side a little bit more, so he's not straight ahead, but he's actually heading towards that long edge of your yoga mat. And this right leg, the knees are kind of together here, and the knife edge of the foot is on the earth, and you want both sit bones to be grounded and connected to the earth here. So I'm going to sit a little bit taller in this space. I want you to see if you can find that same sensation that you had in Sukhasana, sitting back into the sit bones. So feeling that length through the spine, shoulders drawing down, crown of the head drawing high. Take an inhale breath, and you can walk the hands slightly forward here and feel the hinging from the hips, and see if you can bring the chest down towards the thigh. Now this is the challenge, is to find that inhale, that expansive breath, and as you exhale, see if you can surrender into this space. Now you might not be as deep down into this shape as I am today. You might be sitting back here a little bit. Wherever you are today, you might find that you need a little bit more support through the hands to take a little bit of pressure out of the hips. Totally fine. You might even find that your knees up here and you're struggling to cross that over. Wherever you are in this shape today, just speak nicely to yourself. It's perfectly okay. This asana stuff is always a work in progress because we're unbinding the body. And however you've got into the shape where you are, whether there is no good and bad, it just is. So just work with what you've got. And just know that if you keep coming back to the mat, stuff will change. You just got to keep coming back, showing up and letting go. So that inhale for that nice expansive breath, all the way into the back body, and the exhale, surrendering down. And with each breath, just seeing if you can go a little deeper, maybe tucking the chin in towards the chest. And just allowing yourself to be here for the next 2 breaths. And I reckon that's about 10. So gently walk the hands back towards the hips. As you inhale, lift the body or the head and the body. And we're going to swap over to the other side. So take the left leg out to the left, or the right leg out to the left rather, and the left leg over the top. So you might have to do a little hip adjustment here. One foot might be a little bit more friendly than the other. You might notice some rotation. So just set yourself up, and if one side's different to the other, perfectly okay, because we are perfectly imperfect. So take an inhale breath and find the sit bones, and you'll see as you sit back into that space, a little bit of opening there. Lengthen through the back body. Take an inhale breath. Feel that expansiveness, and as you exhale, hinge forward from the hips, walk the hands forward, try and keep those toes flexed and pointing up towards the ceiling, and gently find your edge here. We're going to take about another 8 breaths in this shape. So as you inhale and create that expansiveness through the body, and then you release and find the exhale, you're going to notice those places of tension. So just acknowledge them and see if you can let them be, or let them go would be even better. But your attention is always drawn to those places of tension. So generally speaking, those places of tension are the places where we need to let go of whatever is no longer serving us, so that we can create a little bit more space in the body. Good, about 2 more breaths here. Tuck the chin into the chest, allow the head to hang heavy. Breathe into the back body. A beautiful sensation of surrender. Inhale as you lift the head, walk the hands back. And if we've played correctly, we're going to be in Sukhasana on the other side. If not, and you're still on the first side, swap them over. So just sitting back into the hips, feeling a little length through the spine, and we're just going to take 3 breaths here. Inhale, reach the hands up over the head. Feel that length through the body, and then gently lift the gaze. As you exhale, hands, palms press, and bring them back through the heart center. Release the hands down by the side body. Inhale, reach the arms up over the head. Take an inhale and gaze towards the fingertips. Press the hands, palms together. Exhale and bring the hands back through this heart center. Last round of breath here. Think of something that brings you joy in this very moment. Inhale, arms reach high. Take an exhale, and as you inhale, gaze towards the fingertips. Think of that thing that brings you joy. Press the hands, palms together, and send that loving kindness out into the world. From here, we are going to roll forward into tabletop, and we're going to come into a variation of lizard lunge. So step your right foot forward, turn your right foot out about 45 degrees, and keep pressing this toe and this inside edge of the foot into the mat. So there is a variation where you roll onto the knife edge. This one today, we're going to keep pressing in here. We're going to let that hip open, and we're going to take both of our hands down to the mat. Press that back knee into the earth so you can feel the sensation of that back foot wanting to escape towards the back of the mat. And keep bringing the weight back into that inside edge of the foot, and see if you can find some opening through the hip here with this external rotation of the femur or the thigh. So if this is pretty comfortable for you, nice little slamming of the door there, you can come down onto the elbows. What I want you to feel is a sensation of lengthening through the back body. So not hunching down into the space, but lengthening through here. You can see I'm going to keep pushing that right knee out to the side, but trying to bring this knife edge back down to the floor, because it's really desirous for me to go like that, but other things happen in the hips. So we're just going to stay up here today. We're going to take another 3 breaths here. Those expansive breaths through the back body. Finding those places of tension and letting go. Last breath. Coming back up onto the hands and just turning this foot in so that it's parallel to the side of the mat. And we're just going to lift our right hand up to the sky and take a little bit of a twist. So we're a little bit more open in this space. Normally we might have this right foot tracking a little bit further forward. So you've got a little bit more space to twist here. Keep bringing this right knee in towards the midline. Keep sending that back foot towards the back of the mat. As you inhale, lift that right arm high. And as you exhale, deepen that twist. 2 more breaths here. 1 more breath. Reach and lift. Exhale, twist. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Slide that right foot forward, back, back and forward. Take a little bit of a wriggle. Anything that feels kind of groovy here. Get your Saturday night disco hips back out. And then we're going to swap it over, bringing the left foot forward. So I have my foot out in front of my knee. I'm going to turn that foot out to about 45 degrees. Keep the knife edge, the inside edge of this foot planted down on the floor. Both hands about in line with the foot here. Now, hips are different either side. So I just lifted my left hip here, and then I'm going to sink it back down so that I can feel that external rotation of the femur, or that like thigh bone that's up the top here. But I'm going to keep the inside edge planted. I'm going to keep shooting my back foot, pressing my shin into the earth, so that it's kind of like my back foot wants to escape to the back of the mat or to the back of the room. And it's a constant challenge of wanting to drop or open up this or externally rotate that thigh, but keeping that inside edge down. If you're feeling juicy, you might want to come down onto the elbows, and we're going to remember to inhale and extend or lengthen the crown of the head away, so we feel that, away from the hips, so we feel that lovely lengthening through the spine. And we're going to take about 3 more breaths here. Finding those places of tension and letting go. And when we find that edge and we let go in that edge, this is what we might call our Sthira Supinasana, steadiness and ease. 1 more breath here. Coming back up onto the hands, pressing the hands into the earth. Turn that left foot back and leave this right hand where it is. We're just going to inhale and lift the left. So you can see that I've left lots of room for me to twist here. Reach that left hand towards the sky, up and out of that shoulder, but keep sending the hips towards the earth. Might find a little deeper twist here. Left knee is going to track towards the midline. Plenty of space to open up and lift through that twist. 1 more breath here. Reach the fingertips away. Exhale and release. Slide your left foot back. Slide your left foot back. And we're going to sit all the way back here onto the earth. We're going to come into bear pose. So, woo, a little bit of hip action happening already. So this is our bear pose. I'm not sure how many bears sit like this, but good luck to them. We're going to bring it into our practice here today. So in this pose, I'm going to again keep the inside edge of my feet. Get a little hip crampy thing happening there. Inside edge of the feet down on the earth. I'm going to take my elbows to my inside of my thighs, and I'm going to feel that sensation of rolling the thighs back. And it's almost like a malasana squat, but we can bring the elbows underneath, pull the thighs back, and then keep pressing that inside edge of the foot into the mat, feeling length through the spine and finding some sort of peace just here. A little bit of resistance there from the legs as we're finding in each direction. My elbows are pressing into my thighs and my adductor on the inside of my thighs, and I'm still trying to roll that inside edge of my feet down to the earth. So there's kind of a little battle going on here between the arms and the legs. If I exhale and release, I can press that a little bit deeper. Yay. So this is what we call P&F stretching. So where I create that little battle, my inside of my thighs are pressing into my elbows. P&F stands for proprio-neuromuscular facilitation. It's my longest word apart from expialidocious. Okay, we just stuffed that up. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. There we go. That's probably the longest word, but P&F stretching comes close. Elbows in, fight, 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 fight. Press that adductor into the elbows, press the elbows into the thighs, and release, exhale. So proprio-neuromuscular facilitation, it just means that when the muscles are activated and there's that isometric contraction, you're pressing the elbow into one, all of a sudden they're working really hard in that contraction, and as you relax them, you've got a little bit more of an opportunity to stretch them out. It's like the muscles go, and so you can get a little bit more out of them. I'm going to bring the hands to the back body now, work a little bit of hip mobility. So dropping this right knee into the center, and then we're going to drop the left knee into the center. Right knee comes into the center, and left knee comes into the center. Let's see if we can do this no hands. So bring the hands out to the front. You're going to need to engage the core a little bit, and it might even feel like you're walking forward, like you're doing some sort of little strange crawl, and that's totally normal and okay. One more round. I almost walked the full width of my yoga mat forward. Exhale the hands behind the back. So I'm just going to slide back a little bit. I'm going to drop my right knee down. And I'm just going to feel this little extension in the hip and draw this right hip back down to the earth. So a little bit of extension here. So I can feel that stretch through the front and then drop it down. You can see what's happening in that left knee. There's a little bit of movement there. And bring that hip back down to the earth. 2 breaths here. And you can feel that lovely stretch and opening through the inside of the hip in here. Over to the other side. So we've got a 90-degree angle in this left knee. This right knee's just finding a little place of comfort there. And we're going to lift the hip. So you're feeling that stretch through the front of the hip flexor, and then bring that hip back down to earth. So this left hip, for me, doesn't really even want to touch the earth. So there's a little bit of work to be doing, or to be going on there. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring it back down. One more, inhale, lift, feel that extension through the front of the hip flexor here. And as you exhale, bring that back down, dropping that left hip back down towards the earth. Inhale, coming back up, finding your bear sit again, and just finding a happy medium this time. So no P&F stretching here, just feel some length in the spine and press the elbows into the thighs and feel that lovely opening. You might notice quite a significant difference between your first experience in this space a couple of moments ago and this experience right now. And it should feel quite good. Our next shape that we're going to come into is a wide-legged child's pose. So you can cross the legs over and roll onto the knees, separate or unwrap the feet at the back, but you're going to touch the toes together. So you can see my toes are touching together, and I'm going to take my legs as wide as I can with my sit bones all the way back on my heels. So in this shape, I've got 2 yoga mats, so I'm pretty lucky, but you might want to put a towel out in front of you and use your yoga mat here so that you're protecting your knees and you've got a little bit of support there. And then if you just have a towel out in front of you, that way when you go to lean down on the ground, you're not directly on the earth, or if you're lucky enough to have carpet. From here, we're going to just start to walk the elbows down to the earth. And you might already feel this opening in the hips. This might be enough for you. Or you might even like to come all the way down, bringing the heart space down to the earth. Feeling that lovely opening into the hips because our next stop is frog pose. Breathing into the back body, and as you exhale, finding that surrender. You might have to ease off a little bit. It's nice to, as you breathe, the inhale, find a little length, and then as you exhale, surrender a little deeper and move through that body scan. See where your attention's being drawn to, where the tension is in the body. And see if you can draw the breath down there. We're going to stay here for about another 5 breaths because, yeah, I love this shape. It feels really good. It's a nice opening in the hips, some nice length through the spine, opening through the shoulders. A little bit of movement just to find that edge and play at that edge. If you find that you go a little bit far into it, you can always back out just a little bit, because sustaining this shape is better than putting yourself under extreme pressure and risking injury to get a result. It's not what we're about. We want to create a sustainable practice. So with your next inhale breath, gently walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. So we're already kind of in a frog pose here. Kind of, sort of, maybe not. We're going to go a little deeper. So I want you to rock forward so that you actually come up onto the knees. You can see that my feet are going to come out to the sides here. So this is the beginning of my frog pose. So my hips are in line with my knees here. If it's really intense for you, you can bring this a little bit further forward. And if you want to increase the stretch or increase the intensity of the stretch, you can press the hips back a little bit further. So in this variation of frog stretch, I'm going to come down onto my elbows. If you're going to stay in this shape for a long time, you can use a bolster underneath you here and rest into the bolster. You can use a block to rest your head on. However you would like this to work for you. Like if you're going to stay in this as a yin shape and it's pretty intense, then definitely use a prop just to help you sustain the shape. So a little bit earlier today, I actually did this with a wet mat, and I felt quite a deep opening in this space. And so I'm going to stay here for about another 8 breaths because it's pretty intense for me as well. And I might want to rest my head down here. And I can really feel this working and opening in my hips. I'm trying to maintain a smile, even though I find this quite challenging. That's as euphemistic as I'm going to get here. How many more breaths have we got to go? 5. I'm just going to hang out here. Hanging out. I'm hanging out. Hanging out some more. So I actually know where my attention's being drawn here. My attention is deep in my hips. I got a little bit of opening through my adductor, which is that muscle that runs from the inside of the knee up into the hip and the inside of the thigh. So I can feel that happening, and I can definitely feel some opening in my pelvis and into the hips. And you'll be able to feel that sensation even if you move a little bit forward and backward, where that stretch is going to deliver the maximum benefit for you. And it's going to be different for everyone because everybody's body is unique. So once I give you the details of how to get into the shape, how to align the legs so that the feet are just slightly out of the knees and that you're pressing back into the hips to feel that opening. You can feel a little bit of a draw of the belly into the spine. And this is why it's nice to have that bolster to rest into. So we're going to take another 2 breaths here. Again, the invitation, if you're practicing this in a yin variation, is to stay slightly longer. Alternatively, if you would like to come out of this pose, I'm going to tuck my feet back in and sit back into my child's pose. A little bit of pressure into the hands and bring my knees back together. So that is quite an intense stretch, and I'm feeling that right through my hips and on the inside of my thighs here. So I'm going to sit down to one side. Everyone bring your feet out to the front and give the legs a little bit of a shake there. Come back into Sukhasana and find your sit bones. Now, maybe after doing some of that hip opening work, this is an ideal opportunity for you to slide into your meditation. So if you have a bolster or a block handy, you can prop yourself up. Find that place for your meditation that's most comfortable for you. And I pretty much guarantee that once you've done that hip opening work, sitting in this space or sitting in the position that's most comfortable for you for meditation is going to be a lot easier. And that's kind of the aim of the game, isn't it? To unbind the body so that we can sit longer in meditation. So once you have done some of that hip opening work, you are more than welcome to take a Shavasana and lie for a couple of minutes in silence. Or alternatively, you can come into a meditation seat, that comfortable seat, find your Sthirasukhanasana, steadiness and ease, and sit for a few moments in stillness, just you and your breath, finding that place of oneness, closing down the eyes, and you can stay here for as little or as long as you like. Thank you for joining me on this tutorial. I genuinely hope that you enjoyed frog pose more than I did. And I hope to see you on the next tutorial. I promise to report back to tell you how my frog pose 7-day experiment has gone. Namaste.